this summer silly season where you have like little names popping. If you had this guy on your books, I mean, that's a double. That's actually, it's almost a triple, isn't it? So basically four. Oh, didn't quite hit a triple. If anything, what a great analogy of why we sell halves on doubles. If you sold half on a triple, you didn't get a fill here. But even if you were buying off through this dump, little old ladies, whatever, you might have actually gotten off a double here, believe it or not. Probably the way that I would describe this market state right now is we're sitting in a moving average sandwich. If anything, I wouldn't be surprised if over the summer we simply bang our way in between these extremes of ranges. Bottom end of the range, I wouldn't be surprised, unfortunately, if we have to take out this low here, create divergence, create a little bit of like utter panic in the market. But I don't think we absolutely collapse. I think the 200 SMA here is probably going to hold us in. And if we look at the weekly chart, same sort of thing. That's the 30 SMA on the weeklies. I wouldn't be surprised though if they have to come down here. And notice also too the profile, right? I wouldn't be surprised if they have to dip price into that notch on the profile and then back up. And like I said, the summer sort of silly season is probably Bitcoin just sits in this trading range here. Maybe we can get a dump all the way down into Colin and the pump chaser zone, and that might actually set up a really cute little trade against that low. That would actually be appropriate, but there's no buy signals here anywhere in sight. As I had said earlier, Ethereum was trying to perk up here a little bit. It is interesting that my fast moving average here acting very well as resistance. So anybody who's in the level 2 program learning about moving average relationships. I think 13 EMA, this is half the reason why I like using it. You can see how it acted very well, painting short-term resistance points here. And it also acted really well painting short-term support here. And now you might argue that once was support is now becoming resistance. This was a V bottom. So by definition, we should at the very least expect this low to be tested at some point down the road. This is also a really good anecdote about trend lines. So unfortunately, the break above that trend line is not enough for old man Beamish to get bullish. What I need to see is I need to see the break of the trend line, then a test and literally a W put in on the other side of this trend line. So we do have, this was on the trend line. We do have a spike up. You can see that they're coming back down now. So if we can somehow hold these lows, right, and that low right there has to hold, and then we can turn back up, that might give us the W that will sort of officially say, all right, we've got a bottom to work with. Clearly, somebody stepped in on the sell side last night, and they're driving this thing back down. Now, maybe, keep in mind, this is going to be a really weird week ahead of us. We might see some pretty wild fireworks, like the US market will be open on Monday, but China, for example, will be closed Monday. So that means the banksters, running stops and all that kind of talk, they're going to have a lot of fun through this coming week. This is going to be pretty crazy ass trading here, folks. And then keep in mind, the Americans, they're on holiday on Thursday. I think the ETF for Ethereum is actually supposed to be sort of the official day, the 2nd of July. July. Is that correct, Chris? Do you know?
Yep, July 2nd.
July 2nd. Thank you, sir. So that's probably a conversation about like total. Interesting how we are fighting like the Dickens here. This is the weekly chart at that 30 SMA. Remember, we said that Bitcoin on that weekly chart should really trade down to that 30 SMA to sort of finish that correction process. So in a weird sort of way, I actually think that the short-term picture for the everything but Bitcoin and Ethereum, it's actually doing its correction. You can see this massive tail low here. This should be support right there. This should be support right there. And of course, just even yesterday's low should be support. All right, today's low. Can you start seeing some confluence of horizontal support and resistance? All you level twoers, this is a really good anecdote, analogy of tricking out your charts, what you learned in the horizontal support and resistance and trend lines module. So it shouldn't surprise us that there's a bit of a fight going on here. Also, 230 SMA there. Now, could we have like one more dump to take take us down into 200 SMA and get this cleaned up. Yeah, I think so. But I wouldn't be surprised if sort of our July, August, keep in mind that's resistance all the way up here. So I wouldn't be surprised if there's some fuckery in here. I mean, I don't know whether it's going to be straight line. Of course, we got this really weird week coming up here. But I wouldn't be surprised if our sort of summer season is nothing more than this kind of broader index proxy, this summer silly season where you have like little names. I think I showed in the public broadcast, little names are popping. You know, if you had this guy on your books, I mean, that's a double. That's actually, it's almost a triple, isn't it? So basically didn't quite hit a triple. If anything, what a great analogy of why we sell halves on doubles. If you sold half on a triple, you didn't get a fill here. But even if you were buying through this dump, little old ladies, whatever, you might have actually gotten off a double here, believe it or not. So, but I wouldn't be surprised if you see just sort of smatterings of these kind of stories. Is there some sort of fundamental justification? You know, you guys are all this, let's work together as a community. I don't know this story, beta, but clearly something happened here. And I might argue that this is the kind of market state that we're in. And my public commentary was don't fall in love with this bear. Because ironically enough, just as you were not supposed to fall in love with the bull and get sucked into buying up top, well, I actually might argue that the exact opposite scenario is everybody's basically assumed that this shit's going to go to zero and this is yesterday's story and it's over. And I think you're going to get rallies like this that pop up out of nowhere.